we right away say 98% of Americans are not going to see their taxes go up. 97% of small businesses are not going to see their taxes go up. If we get that in place, we are actually removing half of the fiscal cliff. Half of the danger to our economy is removed by that single step.
Professor Reich, is that true? If we take that one step, we remove half the entire danger to the US economy?
Yes, absolutely, Martin, because the middle class actually, their spending keeps the economy going. The rich are not the job creators in America. The truth is, it's the middle class and the middle class spending that justifies businesses expanding and creating more jobs. If the middle class is squeezed by additional taxes, if the middle class loses ground, as they have been losing ground, because the median wage today is 8% lower, adjusted for inflation, than it was in 2000. If the middle class continues to lose ground, the middle class can't spend. If the middle class can't spend, then we're not going to have more jobs and we're not going to have a better recovery. It's as direct and simple as that.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's a good answer. Given the precarious position we're in, history ought to provide some lessons. And so I went back to your own book, Aftershock, in which you say this: the 1990s boom was not the result of a tax cut. Most of it followed Bill Clinton's 1993 tax increase. Now, Mitt Romney has just spent 2 years telling us that tax cuts are all you need to stimulate the economy. Is that wrong?
Absolutely wrong. I mean, supply-side economics is bunk. We've seen historically, not only when Bill Clinton raised taxes, the economy did very well. George W. Bush in 2001, 2003 cut taxes, and the economy did very badly, and then ultimately went really over a cliff in 2008. Or more evidence, for the first 3 decades after the Second World War in the United States, the top tax rate never fell below 70%. Under Dwight D. Eisenhower, President Eisenhower,
and yet,
it was
Professor
actually
Reich,
90.
we've heard Paul Ryan, the so-called budget policy wonk of the House, repeatedly tell us that what we need to do is cut taxes and the economy does great.
Well, that's just simply not true. We had an election. Most of the Americans obviously did not believe that nonsense, and it is absolutely nonsense. There's no correlation at all between tax rates on the very top and the economy doing worse, or for that matter, doing much better. But here we have a huge budget deficit. The rich now have a higher percentage of total income, Martin, than they've had in about 80 years. They are paying lower taxes than they paid in about 60 years. It seems just obvious. I mean, it's just common sense that the rich have got to pay more. You've got these Republicans who are pledging allegiance not to the United States, not to the Constitution, but to a man called Grover Norquist. That's absurd.
How do you assess, therefore, as a former cabinet minister yourself, how do you assess what's going to happen with Republicans like Speaker John Boehner and Mitch McConnell? How does the president persuade them to lay down their pledges to Grover Norquist and commit to the nation?
Well, ultimately, the president is not going to persuade them. Ultimately, the voters have to persuade them. And what I think John Boehner and a few others in the Republican Party have got to tell Eric Cantor and Paul Ryan and Michelle Bachmann and a lot of the Tea Partiers in that party is if you continue to insist that taxes are not going to be increased on the rich, we are not going to ever gain or regain control of the Senate. We're going to lose control of the House in 2014, 2016. We're going to become a permanent minority party because it makes no sense to most Americans.
Hit them in the pockets, hit them where it hurts. Professor Robert Reich, thank you, sir.